Everyone. I'm so excited you guys are here. We're going to actually start with Ganchana. She's going to explain what we're doing here, what TiE is, TiE Women is, and kind of our mission. So I'll let you take it on, Ganchana.
Thank you. Folks, welcome. I know this is the only way we all get to meet these days, but please we're meeting. I think from a TiE women's perspective, this is just our continued commitment to be connected, to be engaged with all of you. So thank you for taking the time to be here today. So just a few updates from our end. As you can see, the core team is here today. Everybody, they're so super qualified. We said, you know, why look around for new speakers when we have such a qualified panel? And also we want to make the topic very relevant for what is happening today so that, you know, each one of us can connect and relate to it. And also, you know, we're going to, it's only 30 minutes. And then the next 30 minutes, we're going to open it up for an interactive session where, you know, all of you get to ask questions, introduce yourself, what's on your, you know, what's on your mind. If there's something, you know, we all can lean in and help each other. You know, we want to leave the forum open for that. A couple updates from, I think, TiE Atlanta is, you know, we have now started the Access Fund for Women and Minorities. And basically, we have in-house funding right now. And this also, there are two aspects to Access. One is we have a global competition. So TiE Global has started a women's committee in 2019. And they have a big, I guess, culmination event in Dubai in December of 2020. So I don't know if it's going to be virtual or is it going to be in person, but the finalists, they're going to have a women's pitch competition and the finalists, you know, go to pitch. And I think there's about $100,000 prize money over there. So it's a big deal. It's a global event. So we have the Access Fund here is going to do two things. One is we've already started the competition. So we have 51 applicants, all women-owned businesses. And 21 of them we have shortlisted. And I think we're going to have pitches in the next 3 months. And I think top 3 companies will be selected. And then we'll probably select 1 or 2 from that to send to Dubai. If you want more information, you could go to atlanta.tie.org/access. And you can either be an investor in the women-owned businesses or you could be a participant. Also, so one is the competition, but Access Fund is going to be open throughout the year. So if you need funding, you know, please apply in this link. And of course, we would be available after this to answer any questions as well. And, you know, I think what is very important about, you know, bringing the full life cycle here in Atlanta is, you know, if you really look at the national stats, most small businesses don't see the light past 12 months. And one of the primary reasons is funding. So I'm really glad, you know, TiE Atlanta has, you know, in for minority women-owned businesses. And in the current climate, I think it's more so important that we align with what is going on. So with that, like I said, I'm super excited about, you know, the team today. We have Kavita Patel, who's going to be moderating. I let Kavita talk about her background and what she's doing. And then we have Sapna Patel, and we have Kalpi Desai, and we have Jagrati Solanki. I mean, these are like my dear friends, and I'm so excited to have you ladies. So back to you, Kavita.
Thanks, Ganchana. So my name is Kavita Patel. I'm a CPA. I work for a Hancock Askew, which is a regional CPA firm in the area. I'm primarily on the audit side. I work on some non-public company audits, some benefit plan audits, a little bit of SOX testing for public company audits, and that's kind of, you know, my main focus. Before we get started, I wanted to make sure that it looks like most of you are already muted, but if you could just mute yourselves and also turn off your cameras. After the speakers are done, we're going to open it up to everyone and you can ask questions, introduce yourself, you know, suggestions maybe for future events. But until then, let's just keep it muted and let the speakers kind of take the show. So I'm going to first introduce Sapna. She's going to talk about balance and taking time for yourself, especially during this time. So go ahead and take it over.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me? Okay, awesome. Yeah, so I'm Sapna Patel. For those of you that don't know me, I'm actually currently the Director of Corporate Development for Software Automation. We're a robotics startup founded in Atlanta out of Georgia Tech, and I'm also currently the founder and managing director of Life Insurance Simplified, which is an online life insurance marketplace. So I became a certified yoga teacher about 4.5 years ago, and I also recently completed training in transcendental meditation last summer. So I'm going to be spending about 10 minutes talking just mindset and sharing some tips on how you can try to find calm and achieve balance with everything kind of going on in the world right now. So why did I begin this sort of mindfulness practice? Well, I was going through a divorce about 7 years ago. And up until that point in my life, you know, I was kind of following a similar path, like to my peers. And then all of a sudden, I felt a little lost. And I was an entrepreneur, and a traditional Indian household didn't really seem to understand that concept. And so I chose to follow my dreams, and I ended that relationship. And, you know, there was a lot of unknowns, and I thought like pursuing my dreams would make me feel fulfilled. And at the end of it, it really didn't. And that's when I really started questioning like my purpose and just existing. And, you know, since I felt like really left out as my peers were sort of moving on with their lives and like starting their own families. And all of this led to a lot of anxiety and depression. And it really wasn't a fun place for me to be. And so that's really why I started this spiritual journey. And what I found is that like my peers that are on the other side that are married, that, you know, didn't have kids, they were also juggling other types of anxiety issues. And so it almost seemed like regardless of where an individual was in their situation, this is sort of like a common theme. And so that really brings us back to today. I know a lot of you guys are juggling, you know, working now at home, being at home all the time, being a parent, being a school teacher, possibly a full-time chef. I'm sure there's a number of things that I may have like missed out on that you guys have taken on as roles, combined with just not being able to get out and about and sort of live like that life that we've all been used to. So we really don't know how long things are going to be this way and what the immediate future holds. So I really just wanted to kind of like take a few minutes to kind of address that. So there's obviously a great deal of fear and anxiety spiking worldwide, and mindfulness practices are more important than ever. They help us to stay centered and stay in the midst of all the chaos and uncertainty. So what exactly is mindfulness? So mindfulness is really just bringing awareness to what you're feeling inside. It's actually just a tool to bring you back to the present. And what it really does is it helps you to understand like how unrewarding some of your habits are, like worrying or fear, and how rewarding simply being present with your thoughts and emotions and body sensations can actually be. So let me take a couple of minutes to talk about the physiological being. So the mind is essentially the computer of your body. So what you feed your mind fuels your body. So when our subconscious mind, think your heart rate, it's automatic. You don't have to tell your heart to beat. It's just naturally happening. So that's one part of your mind. And then you have your conscious part of your mind, which is the part that you actually control, the part that thinks and feels and behaves. And our breath is actually one of the only bodily acts that are normally subconscious. That means that you don't have to sit there and think that, you know, you need to be breathing, but you have the ability to control, you know, your breath. And so since we're being exposed to a lot of uncertainty, we tend to experience a lot of fear and anxiety, and we take this fight or flight response, and that response takes place in our body. And your subconscious mind doesn't have the ability to distinguish this threat, right? So it responds the same way to this fear and anxiety as it would if you were like confronting a black bear. Like your subconscious mind doesn't have the ability to recognize the threat. You know, similar things happen. If you were facing like a black bear, same thing happens when you have fear and anxiety in your brain. Your heart rate goes up, your breathing becomes shallow, and this essentially creates a great deal of stress in the physical body. So the prolonged stress over a period of time, it shows up as a tension in your muscles. You may get headaches, you may get a number of other physical ailments. So it's also known to cause like hypertension and a range of other health conditions if you don't really try to do things to mitigate that stress. So how do you tell your body that there is no big black bear essentially chasing you. Well, it comes back down to becoming mindful. So the human body has 5 senses. So, you know, we see, we hear, we smell, we touch, we taste. And outside of that, the only existence is really just you. And so you have to learn how to tune out some of these black bear responses that happen in your body when you're exposing yourself to certain situations that cause fear and anxiety to consistently exist in your mind. So how do you do that? Well, some of the mindfulness practices that can help, I'm going to share 3. And the first is meditation. And meditation, what that really is it's just really bringing your mind back to its most normal state. So the world is like man-made, right? So like if you think about it, the modern world, we as human beings, we're meant to just be out in nature. And, you know, we have certain needs. We need food, we need shelter, we need safety. And outside of that, once those needs are met, you don't, you know, everything else is just external, like stimulation. Like we're, you know, constantly being exposed to a number of things from, you know, being on social media and everything that's going on right now in the world. So meditation is one of the best things you could do for your mind and body because it helps to relieve this physical stress in your body, and it helps you to focus by teaching you skills to kind of tune out all that extra noise. Rather that's just like the amount of information you're encountering on a day-to-day basis, or opinions or judgments of other people. And it essentially makes you a better human being because it allows you to display like more compassion. So if you could properly meditate, it allows you to bring maximum success and fulfillment to your daily life by allowing you to access and then tap like infinite happiness, energy, creativity, intelligence, and organizing power. So I know many of you have challenges trying to meditate, or you may feel like you aren't doing it right, or that, you know, you keep having thoughts, and all of that's like perfectly normal. Like meditation is just a practice. It improves with time. The key is to really just focus in on your breath, which is just breathing in and out. And I really want to show you how easy this is. So I invite all of you to meditate with me for about 1 minute. So if you guys haven't already, if you could just take a comfortable seat and close your eyes and rest your hands on your lap softly. We'll begin by taking just a quick couple of breaths. Inhale through your nose. Take a deep breath in through your nose. And exhale through your mouth. Take another deep breath in through your nose. And exhale through your mouth. You could take a few more like that, in through your nose and out through your mouth. Now, explore the inner weather patterns. Do you feel sunny inside? Do you feel stormy? You can't feel anything at all. You just want to use your awareness to feel the bodily sensations as they come and go. Your mind may wander, and that's perfectly okay. You just want to guide it back to feeling your body like in the moment. So we're going to take one more breath in through your nose and exhale through your mouth. Okay, congratulations. You guys have successfully meditated, and over time it'll become like second nature. So I know we're all busy and you may feel like you don't ever have the time to meditate or be mindful. And there's an increasing amount of scientific evidence on the benefits of mindfulness. There's more than 600 scientific studies that have been done that show like physical changes that actually occur in your brain over a period of time if you continuously do this. And so I just wanted to share a few moments that you probably do throughout your day that you could like prompt yourself to just, you know, kind of check in with yourself. So one of the first ones that I always do is like while I'm in the shower, it's just the best time for me to just kind of close my eyes and just like enjoy that water like hitting your skin, and, you know, just taking the time to like take a few like deep breaths. Another time is like maybe when you're washing your hands. I know we've all become experts at washing our hands these days. So, the simple process of washing your hands, you can just close your eyes and just take a few deep breaths and just see how you're doing. Another time is like if you're doing dishes or any other type of like household chores, you could just kind of just try to stay present and keep breathing in and out. Falling asleep is another time, like right when I lay down in bed, I just like take a couple of minutes to just like let myself settle in and then, go to sleep. So that's one of the key mindfulness practices I wanted to tell you about was meditation. The second one is just kind of being out in nature. We're human beings, we're meant to be outdoors. And so even taking a walk and just kind of noticing like the smells around you, grass, trees, watching animals, seeing butterflies. So all of these things just bring your mind back to its most natural state. And it kind of gives you this like natural boost of energy. And it really allows you to kind of like have some clarity in your mind and think clearly, and it allows you to become more creative and really like, find your potential as a human being. So the last mindfulness activity is just kind of taking some time out of your day each day to really connect with, your significant other, your kids or your pet, and just spending like maybe just 5 minutes, just, enjoying that moment. And I know we're all busy and you may feel like you can't meditate, but it's definitely beneficial, and I hope that you guys found this useful. So I'll pass it back to Kavita.
Thank you, Sapna. Just wanted to go ahead and also mention there is a chat feature. If you want to put some questions in there, go ahead and do that. You will be able to ask them when we open it up to everyone. But if you want to go ahead and just put something in there, you are more than welcome to. So now I'm going to hand it over to Gulpy, and Gulpy's going to talk about market conditions and some ideas of just, how to be more financially stable right now, and, just to kind of go over some of that stuff. So take it over.
Thanks, Kavita, and thanks, Sapna. I thought that was an awesome session on meditation. I felt immediately more relaxed. I always like to joke that I always meditate before I fall asleep. I always take a few seconds to breathe in and out and then put myself to sleep. But that was great. And on to a more exciting topic, markets. Usually this is not very exciting, but given the volatility, I know a lot more people have been paying attention to it. So I want to spend some time talking about it, and feel free to put some questions in the chat. If I get a chance to look at them, I can address them while I'm going through this. Otherwise, we'll have some time at the end as well to review your questions. But I'm not gonna go over really what's been happening. I think everyone understands COVID's happened. It's affected the economy. Businesses have gone out. So what's happened in the past week? We're continuing to see market volatility. For this week, it's remained mostly flat, but we've had 2 Fed meetings, and both of them, Jeremy Powell has said that he's going to be supportive of bolstering the current economic state. He's encouraging Congress to help the unemployed and to help businesses. They've bought a lot of bonds, and they've continued to show that they're going to be reactive and supportive of the current economic state. There are still fears of a second wave of coronavirus. So you may have seen a dip. There was a 5% correction last Thursday, and this resorted investors to go back to stay-at-home stocks like tech and digital. And we'll probably continue to see some sort of cycle and a shift between stay-at-home and back to normal economy basic stocks as we figure out what is going to happen. Is Corona's going to come back? Is the US going to open up again? The world going to open up again? What we encourage is cautiousness and selectivity. The market is still 40% up from March levels. So, the markets can still continue to run up, but at the same time, we want to be cautious because we do think that things are overvalued. It's at the 10th decile. So we're right there at the peak of where it could be. What markets will be watching? They are going to be looking at, okay, is the virus going to come back? We're seeing some in China. There's already a second wave coming back. Is it going to come back to the US? Are we going to see it in France, Europe? Will central banks continue to add further stimulus around the world? Is the rate of unemployment stabilizing or decreasing? Today we had some additional jobless claims. They were not as favorable as we expected it to be. There was 1.5 million in additional jobless claims. So, you know, that was, we had a slightly flat down day today, but that's a key indicator of the current economic conditions as well. And when is the US going to reopen? So these are some common questions I keep hearing. And for context, I realized I didn't let you know that I used to work at Goldman Sachs in investment management, and I managed a portfolio of 3.3 billion with a team. I'm currently now on the tech side of things, the better side, but I will always have a passion. And common questions that I keep hearing from friends and family is why is there a disconnect between the markets and the economy? You know, people know that GDP is going to decline because businesses have been shut down, but why is the stock market continuing to rise? And the reason is the Fed. The Fed is propping it up. By continuing to buy bonds and support corporations, people really don't have anywhere else to put their money. It's also signaling that things will probably be okay and the Fed is always going to be there. So that is probably the primary reason why there is a disconnect. What does it mean when the Fed prints money? Like, do they have unlimited amount of money to print? Is there a machine that's actually printing? Yes, and no. So the way they print money is by buying bonds, and they create assets they collect assets. So you'll probably see that are going up. And what they also do is add money to the bank's balance sheet. What this does is provides liquidity and money supply in the market. It also decreases interest rates. And when interest rates decrease, you want to typically borrow more, and borrowing facilitates the economy. That's what makes the economy go round and round. And so just think about mortgage rates. If you have a home, you've probably seen that interest rates have gone down and want to refinance. That may want you to borrow more because interest rates are so low. And then you'll continue to spend more and more money, and this will trickle down to the real economy. So that's how, when you think of printing money, that's what the Fed is doing, and it is also known as quantitative easing. You know, and when we print a lot of money, people are worried, is this going to cause hyperinflation? Is your money going to be worth less because of all this money supply, increased money supply? And the answer is trickier. There are two sides of the coin here. The first is, yeah, I mean, in theory, if we're going to go by economic principles, yes, we should probably expect hyperinflation. Although, according to 2008, we also implemented QE, this quantitative easing, by buying bonds and injecting liquidity into the markets. And it actually caused deflation. And there was a primary reason for that. Banks were so scared of having another 2008 crisis that they held onto this money. And by holding onto this money, that means they were not borrowing it to people. And when they weren't borrowing to people, that wasn't facilitating economic growth. And so what we've also seen with Japan is a deflation, because they've also went down to negative rates and also had extended quantitative easing. So you'll probably hear a lot of talk around the Japanification of the United States if we continue to have increased and, you know, a strong, elongated quantitative easing. So we're probably leaning more towards, what I'm hearing from economists is we can probably expect deflation more than we can expect hyperinflation. But this has never really been done before, and so it's yet to be seen what this will really result in. And the final question is, how do I invest in the markets? How should I invest in this environment? And this is a tough question. The only real way to invest, I think, is to have a long-term asset allocation. What is your goal at the end of 10, 20, 30 years? And determine what proportion of bonds to equities that you want to have. And the reason I say this is because unless you're a hedge fund manager or you're Warren Buffett, there's no way to predict, is this a top or if this is the bottom. And the markets, there's a great quote that says, the markets can say irrational longer than you can say solvent. And so having a long-term asset allocation provides diversification, provides some buffer. So if you have bonds in your asset allocation, you have some dry powder. If the markets were to decrease again, you could put some of that dry powder back into the markets, into equities. And that should hopefully, you'll be able to capture some of that appreciation in assets as the markets continue to recover. So going on to this, I'm gonna spend a little bit more time on how do I invest, how do I think about financial planning? And There are 4 critical questions. The first is, what is your current balance sheet and income statement? What are all of your assets? What are your debt obligations? How much cash do you need? Suppose something were to go awry, you don't have a job, your family doesn't have a job, how much cash would you need and how long could you survive on that? And what's going to be your cushion? And what are your expenses? What income are you generating? Making sure you have some sort of safety net there. And then the second one is, what are your financial goals? When do you plan to retire? How much do you have a targeted net worth? Do you want to be worth 4, 5, 10 million in the future? Is that achievable? But having some sort of target that you're driving towards should help you think about financial planning. And then most importantly, what is your risk tolerance? I'm sure everyone wants to have, $50, $100 million, probably not possible unless you take a lot of risk. And the more aggressive you are, the more volatility you'll see in your portfolio. And if you've been watching your portfolio, if times like these have been scaring you and freaking you out, that probably will give you an insight into what is your risk tolerance. If you feel the need to pull out of the markets, then you might want to dial down your risk a little bit. And this term can be so esoteric. What seems like a conservative portfolio to me may seem like an aggressive portfolio to you. So it's really important to talk to a financial advisor and have some metrics around what is volatility, what is risk. If another 2008 were to happen or another coronavirus were to happen, how would you feel if we saw a 30, 40% drawback? And then develop an allocation around that and your risk tolerance. And then finally, are you expecting any big changes in your future? Are your kids going to college? Do you know you're going to have to spend on their Harvard education? Or are you getting married? Things like that are really important to consider when thinking about the long term. And then finally, I wanted to give you some considerations for investing in a COVID-19 environment after COVID-19. What we're expecting is that interest rates are going to be kept near zero until 2022. So we're going to probably expect greater debt levels. People are going to want to borrow, interest rates are low, and this is really, the Fed is doing this to help facilitate the economy and keep it. So what this means is cash and bonds are going to have really low yield, and you're not going to get much bang for your buck. Where are some alternatives? Consider real estate, putting in equities, putting it in emerging markets, but just know that that's going to be at the cost and expense of safe assets. And you should be talking to your financial advisor what's the right proportion of cash and bonds and how much yield do you want versus equities. And remember that with low interest rate, you probably want intermediate term bonds so you can capture a little bit more long-term premium, but you don't want to have such short-term bonds that you're making no yield at all and not keeping up with inflation. Second is, as the economy improves, taxes may increase slightly. This has just been shown in the past. There's no reason, if the Republicans say in House, that may not happen, but considering strategies like tax loss harvesting, tax deferral strategies, and tax-free entities, that's another way to take control of what your after-tax wealth is going to look like. And that's all I have for today.
Thank you, Gulpi. So next we are going to have Jagruti. She's going to talk about working from home, navigating that right now, and just creating some structure and how she has been able to do that with her company.
Thank you, Kavita. Thank you, Kalpi and Sapna. That was really awesome presentation, what you guys said. So just to give a quick background about what I do and who I am, I'm Jagruti Solanki. I'm a audit partner at Aprio. We are one of the top 50 CPA firms headquartered in Atlanta, about 600 odd employees today. And we provide CPA-led advisory services and traditional tax audit services, along with specialty services like M&A, due diligence, privacy and security, and pretty much everything that you can think of, from a financial reporting advisory service package. Now, I've been with my company about 12 years, pretty much started as an intern and kind of moved up the chain there. My role is in the audit side. So essentially what I do is I do financial statement audits of companies. My specialty is technology and blockchain companies. So I focus on early stage companies and kind of take them all the way through their exit. Whatever their exit might be, they could get sold to a private equity. I've worked with companies that go IPO and looking to go public. So kind of a wide variety of companies that I normally work with. One of the things about our jobs as CPAs is that there's a lot of collaboration and a lot of in-person meetings, without which we back in the day thought that, well, you can't get stuff achieved without having at least 2 or 3 touch points. And those touch points most likely involve some sort of in-person meeting. Well, clearly past 3 months has changed all of that, right? We didn't leave our homes, our office is closed, and we pretty much kind of forced in a way to work remote. One of the challenges I've had was, as an auditor, we are hopping between clients like every 2 or 3 weeks, like at client side, doing the work, collaborating with clients and different departments within the clients to get our work done and meet deadlines. It was kind of challenging doing that remotely. We still got it done. Tax deadlines pushed back, but unfortunately audit deadlines didn't. So we had a lot of March 31st deadlines to present audited financial statements to banks and to investors, and several April 30 deadlines, which was like literally in the middle of the COVID situation. And we still got it done. And I think our teams took this as a huge experience of how you can still achieve what you want to achieve, customizing your personal situation. So I just want to share some of the things we had to do differently and yet meet our deadlines. One of the things is, Zoom calls, like just what we are having now. I think, on an average, most of our colleagues and myself, we probably have like 7 or 8 Zoom calls on a daily basis. Video calls, audio calls is exhausting, but you still have to work around that and figure out a way to just kind of keep the mojo going and accomplish what you have to do. What we found was that, at the in-person meetings that we had, the travel time plus the in-person meeting, that's at least an hour easy, an hour and a half of your time for just one client. Whereas now, none of that was happening. Everything was Zoom or just virtual. We could cut down that time and condense it to a 30-minute meeting, and we still were able to achieve what we wanted to achieve. And we actually found that really efficient and useful. 30 minutes, we keep it to the point, and then we're just kind of back doing what we have to do. So that was one of the major things that we found. The other thing I'll say is part of our jobs is also being on site doing, say, for example, inventory observation, right? Like where for year end, we are going out to client side, we need to verify what inventory they have at period end. And for that, you are required to be at client side in person. Well, that didn't happen. So we found interesting technologies and solutions to do the same job, just that we used our phones with camera and Skype and perform the same on-site inventory virtually. Very interesting. It took much longer than we would have liked, but the first couple just were experimental, and then we got used to it. Those were some of the things where we had to change the way we were looking at things or collaborating with our clients during this interesting, unfortunate times. The other thing I would say is, as Kalpi mentioned, the feds have come out with very interesting ways to help companies. And, one of those ways is the loans, the SBA loans that they were offering to companies of different, that are impacted by COVID. We had a huge amount of time and resources that we had to spend helping companies get the PPP loan, get the Main Street lending, get on that program and just get funded so they can keep their business going. A lot of companies were impacted. They had working capital issues to the point that they even could not, figure out a way to keep their lights on if business didn't get back to normal in like 3 months. So outside of doing our, what I call day job, which is audit and tax, we also dived right in to help companies get these loans. A lot of success around that side. And once the loan process was passed, we are now helping companies get to a point where we can get the loan forgiven. So there are a certain criteria that feds have come out with where a certain percentage of your loan, in fact, significant portion of your loan could be forgiven if you utilize the loan within a certain period and for certain type of expenses. So now we are in process of helping companies, with the loan forgiveness. So that was one of the other things we realized as part of this, that it's not just about going to clients and companies with what you normally do, which is tax, audit, compliance. It's much more than that. It is what we can do to help them during this situation when they need, they need money the most. And we found opportunities to help companies with doing that. And I think that was a pretty huge success. The other thing I will say that was challenging for us and a lot of companies was business development. I mean, even our business was impacted. Our clients' business impacted, which kind of indirectly impacts what we are doing and how we can serve our clients too. Some of our clients may not even survive, unfortunately, and we are doing whatever it takes to help them out. But there's so much that they can do given the situation. The approach we took for business development and just continuing to be a thought leader in this space is finding different avenues to help companies and individuals. One was the loans. There are several tax deferral strategies that we are working with clients on and kind of customizing it for their personal situation. Business development, which was huge. I mean, past last year, in past 2 years, I probably spoke at about 20 events all across the country. It was all technical accounting, blockchain related topics, but none of that happened in past 3 months. And I'm just kind of, still sharing what I have to share virtually. There is a significant impact. It is definitely different than in-person meetings, but given that everyone is in the same boat, people are now accommodating, and we are seeing companies being much more receptive to virtual and remote working options. In fact, even flexibility. I have colleagues where, they are home. These are working moms. They are home. They have really young kids, and it is very difficult for them to work while being on a Zoom or a video call and have a kid on the lap, and it's challenging for them. And I don't have kids, but what I learned along with many others is that, well, I got to figure out a way to work my schedule based on their schedule, be a little more accommodating and respectful to their personal schedule, given what's going on and whatever limitations they got. And I think a lot of companies are also realizing that flexibility is equally important as, it kind of comes hand in hand with remote working or virtual option. So that was another eye-opening thing where we just kind of made a very conscious effort to work around staff and people's schedule, keeping their personal schedules in mind. Sapna, you mentioned earlier about the mindfulness. I'll be honest, like mental health is huge with the kind of jobs we have. It's high stress to begin with. And frankly, the profession that we live in, it's male dominated. So we are working with variety of people, different personalities, dealing, kind of hopping between one deadline to other deadline. And outside of doing that task, the daily task, we are also doing a bunch of other stuff to keep the business going and, kind of keep moving up in the chain. It comes with a lot of stress. Frankly, I try to meditate, but although I kind of feel like, I'm meditating for 2 minutes and then all I have in my head is a checklist of things that I just need to do. It's like ping, ping every 2 seconds. Oh, you got to do this, you got to do this. And by the time I know, it's like, oh my gosh, I just might as well just stop meditating and just go back and do my stuff. But it's important. And I think what I learned was, drawing that fine line between work and making personal life and health much more important. And to me, that was one of the biggest lessons I took from this experience. Kavita, looks like my time is up. I'll hand it off back to you, but you guys have any questions, please feel free to send it in the chat box.
Thank you, Jagruti. All three of those were perfect. That was so informative. I honestly, I knew we talked about these topics and what you guys were going to talk about, but I didn't exactly know what you guys are going to say, and that was perfect. So we are now going to open it up to everyone. You can keep your mics muted, but if you want to turn on your video, feel free to do that. Go ahead, and if you want to say something, or if you want to introduce yourself, if you have a question for the speakers, you can raise your hand and I will just call on you. So that way we're not all talking on top of each other. Okay. Does anybody want to introduce themselves?
Hi guys, how is everybody doing? First of all, I want to say thank you. You were just fantastic, and now I'm just seeing screens popping up slowly. And sis, you can unmute yourself if you want to. Hi, Bindi, and I see Chitra coming on. So it's wonderful to see our dear friends back, and back on the participation, and again doing well. And I think that's the most important thing is, I think we want to reiterate that we're not alone in this journey, right? All of us are in this together, and anything we could do to support each other during this time. So, it's really officially our session has, the session has ended in terms of content. So now it's really for all of you to speak. If you want to introduce yourself, tell something about what you're doing, how are things going for you? Maybe Bindi, we start with you.